We got a bidet!
Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. In today's video, we are talking about the new Super Mario Brothers movie. We got to see it on the first day, which was Wednesday of this week, which is kind of weird. Usually movies come out like a Thursday night going into a Friday, but maybe because it's spring break for a lot of people. That's why it came out early, because we did see even some kids at this, like young kids, when it was super late. But yeah, we're here to talk to you about the Super Mario Brothers movie. You know, what happened in it, what's our thoughts, and then it's up to you whether you want to go see it. There's not a whole lot to talk about plot-wise, but I guess I can go over it really quick. It is a 90-minute movie, so it kind of shorter, but I guess maybe normal for younger audiences.
90 minutes used to be the standard. I'm just saying.
It used to be, but it seems like more movies seem to be around that 2 hour block nowadays. But so this movie, it starts off Mario and Luigi are trying to do their own like little plumbing business, and it's not going so well. They get their first call where they go in and they mess everything up, unfortunately, and there's a vicious dog that's trying to get at them because they broke his toy bone. And so they see on the news that the city is flooding because of a plumbing problem. So they're like, well, if we do this job, maybe we can like save the town for our plumbing business. Not to mention that there's a like bully that keeps picking on them, saying that they'll never be good at what they do. So they're trying to prove it to everybody. So they go down into the sewers where, you know, that's where they believe that the clogging is happening. And there's pipe that they have to turn the wheel for to try to fix the issue. And so in the process of trying to get that the wheel, they break it and they fall quite a ways down, and they eventually find a green tube like we see in the Mario games. And Mario goes to investigate and notices that one of the things he's holding like gets sucked into the tube, and then eventually him and Luigi get sucked into the tube. They get going through like this whole weird process of going to the Mushroom Kingdom, and they get split up. And so Luigi goes to the land of Bowser, and Mario goes to Mushroom Kingdom. I guess I should also say before I get too much further, the movie does actually open with the Bowser segment from the trailer. I guess I forgot to mention that. I felt like it didn't open with Mario, but it opened with Bowser going after the Ice Kingdom area with the star and the penguins. And so he takes the star that way. So that was supposed to be before we see Mario. But yeah, so Mario and Luigi are split up. Mario is greeted by Toad, and Toad is, you know, trying to show him around the kingdom a little bit. And Mario mentions that he lost his brother Luigi, and he's trying to find him. So Toad believes that Princess Peach can help him find his brother. So Toad takes Mario to Princess Peach. So we see a little bit more about the Mushroom Kingdom, just, you know, going through the different town shops and whatnot. You can see like little nods to different Nintendo things. Probably the most popular thing on the internet right now that happens during this is that one of the Toad people tells a customer to blow on an NES cartridge if it's not working, and it clearly says on the label on the back, "Don't blow on this." So it's kind of a little funny nod to Nintendo myths of the past. So Mario eventually meets up with Peach, and Peach basically says, you know, we see, and they're around their like round table, so to speak. They see that Bowser has taken the star from the penguins, and he's on his way to the Mushroom Kingdom. And Mario mentions that he saw that Luigi went into this area where it was like volcanic and whatnot. And so Peach basically figures out that, you know, Luigi went to the land of Bowser. And so they decide to work together because not only is Mario trying to find his brother that is with Bowser, but Peach is trying to stop Bowser from taking the kingdom. So Peach runs Mario through a little test course where it's kind of like the Mario game where he's running around all the different things. And he kind of proves himself a little bit that he might be worthy to go with her on a trek to the Kong area where Donkey Kong and all them live. She wants to ask them for help in the battle against Bowser. The two of them said, oh, three of them, because Toad decides to go with them. They set off to go to the land of Kong, where they're hoping that Cranky Kong will help them by giving her some people to help defend Mushroom Kingdom from Bowser. Before I go on further with them, we should talk about what's going on with Luigi, because they are split up. They have separate things going on. Luigi is making his way through what looks like a burnt forest and comes across, I forget what the name of them are, but it's like a toad that's all skeletons.
Dry bones.
Dry bones. Runs into a dry bones, and eventually a whole bunch of dry bones come up from the ground and chase him into Bowser's castle, which then he is captured. And
By some Shy Guys.
yeah, by some Shy Guys. It was really creepy too because they look like they're from Chernobyl. So it was really creepy to see them appear behind him. So Luigi's captured. We have the thing going on with Bowser. So he captured the star because he plans to propose to Princess Peach. He wants to marry Princess Peach. And if she doesn't marry him, then he's going to use the star to have this unstoppable force and destroy the kingdom. That's going to be his way to try to get her to say yes to the proposal. And so he's informed that there's a human going around with Princess Peach, that they're heading off to the land of Kong. And they bring in Luigi because, again, he's a human as well. So Bowser thinks that maybe Luigi would know who Mario is. And this is where we see from the trailer where Bowser's like pulling on his mustache as torture. And Luigi tells him, who Mario is. So now, not only does Bowser, worried about his own proposal, but he's worried about this other human getting with his woman, so to speak. He's worried that Peach will fall for Mario instead of himself. So eventually, Peach, Mario, and Toad get to the land of Kong, where they meet up with Cranky Kong and ask him for help. He says, I'll help you if you beat my son at the Kong games. And so Mario says that he wants to participate to try to beat Donkey Kong in a match because it's Cranky Kong's son. And then that's where we see from the trailer the little match between Donkey Kong and Mario. That's what my picture is behind me. Little picture from the games. And eventually, Mario, after using some power-ups, does defeat Donkey Kong. So Cranky Kong decides to help out Princess Peach. And he says that they have a shortcut to get back to the kingdom because Peach believes that Bowser will get there before them if they go back basically the way they came. And Cranky Kong's way of getting there faster is by taking a shortcut with carts, or the racing things we use in Mario Kart. So they have this whole like Fast and the Furious basement full of Mario or different carts that they get to pick from. And it's cool because they actually pick their parts like you do in the video game, where you have like the 3 wheels that you can spin through to pick your parts. So they all pick the carts that they want, and they speed off towards Mushroom Kingdom via the Rainbow Road, I think it's called, Rainbow Road. And Bowser decides to intercept them. He's like, I'm smarter than you. I know you're going to try to do this. And so he sends in his Koopa Troopas and tries to stop them from getting back to the kingdom. And there's like the head honcho general of the Koopa Troopers, where he's the blue shell dude, and he has like this massive vehicle that he's using to try to get Mario. But eventually what it boils down to is that Mario, Donkey Kong, and all of them are about to get away, and the Koopa Trooper is like, I'm the blue shell, and then he sends himself forward just like they do in the video game, to the person that's in first place and takes them out and destroys actually the road as well. So like all the other Donkey Kong people or the Kong people can't get to Mushroom Kingdom. Peach does get away, so Peach speeds off towards Mushroom Kingdom, but Mario and Donkey Kong fall into a big, I would say, ocean, just because of how much water there was, and they get eaten up by a water creature. It's kind of like Monstro from Pinocchio. So they're in there sitting for a while, but they eventually get the idea that, like, oh, Donkey Kong's cart was eaten as well, and there's a barrel on there that acts as a missile. So if they hold onto the barrel and launch it, then they can get their way out of this sea creature and then head towards Mushroom Kingdom. So they're doing that. Peach is getting everybody ready at Mushroom Kingdom for Bowser's inevitable arrival, which he eventually does. And he proposes to Princess Peach, and she says, "I will never marry you." And so he threatens to destroy the kingdom, which then makes her say, "Yes, I will marry you." But we all know that something's probably up. Eventually, we see Bowser in like his wedding outfit, which is reminiscent, I think, of Mario Odyssey. I think that's when it first appeared. I know there's a amiibo character of him, but we see him in that outfit. Peach is in a wedding gown. A bunch of people are there for the wedding, and Toad hands Peach her bouquet. And right here, with the way he's talking about the bouquet, is like something's going on with this bouquet. We don't really know what yet, but she gets all the way towards Bowser, and she's like, "You really think I would marry you?" And she pulls out a power up that gives her ice abilities, and so she starts like she freezes Bowser, freezes, all the different enemies that are there from the video game that are there to watch. In
Helps
Peach's
prisoners.
Yeah, I was just about to get there. In Peach's honor, Bowser was going to sacrifice all the prisoners that he had, which included Luigi. They captured a bunch of the Kongs from the race. So Cranky Kong was going to be sacrificed to lava as well. And she uses her ice abilities to stop the chains from lowering the people into the lava. Oh boy, we're almost to the end of the film already. Let's see. You want to take over?
Sure. So Bowser wakes up right after Mario arrives because Donkey Kong and Mario escaped from that sea creature, and they're riding in on that barrel. There's like a montage of them using Donkey Kong gets fire power up, so they're going through the Mushroom Kingdom, trying to get up to the top, up to Bowser's ship. They get up to Bowser's ship, and right about then is when Donkey Kong rescues his father and kind of redeems himself. And Mario meets up with Peach, and they think everything's great. And then Bowser wakes up. So now that Bowser's awake, it's kind of just a big battle of, between Mario and Luigi and Bowser and Peach, of course. But Bowser is really powerful, and so I guess kind of a way to, what was it?
He launches
he fired a giant bullet bill towards Mario, or it was going towards the castle actually. But Mario tricked the bullet bill into following him instead, and then he went in. He tricked the bullet bill into going into one of those tubes, which actually brought it back to their hometown of Brooklyn, back in the United States. So then Mario and everybody else kind of gets sucked back through that tunnel, including Bowser. There's a scene where the star is kind of misplaced, if you will. It's no longer in Bowser's possession. There's a lot of back and forth fighting between Bowser and Mario. Mario's like about to give up when he sees the rest of his friends going after Bowser. Mario and Luigi are eventually able to get the star, which gives them, if you've ever played Mario, you know about the, I don't know what it's exactly called, but yeah, invincibility star. So with their invincibility, they're able to take out a whole bunch of Koopa Troopas and really any of the other enemies that are in their way between them and Bowser. and they're able to kick Bowser's booty. At which point, Princess Peach, who when she was teaching Mario how to use power ups and stuff, she was force feeding him mushrooms. Except this time, she force feeds Bowser one of the blue mushrooms, which turns him into a little miniature, and he's able to be stuck in a little jar. So Mario and Luigi have saved the day and rescued their town, redeemed their name, so now their dad is proud of them again and no longer thinks of them as a disappointment. The guy from the town that was making fun of them before, Spike, he actually is happy that they saved him as well. And that's kind of basically the end of the movie.
Yep, and then we had we had two after credit scenes. One of them that was more significant than the other, and that was
I think before the after credit scenes, they show Mario and Luigi basically living the good life in the Mushroom Kingdom. So I think they have moved to the Mushroom Kingdom permanently.
yes. Yep. And then the after credit scene that, in my opinion, matters, it's not just for comedic relief, is that there is an egg that arrives. I think it was in Brooklyn because it was in the sewer. So a Yoshi egg was left behind in Brooklyn. So that kind of maybe hints at Yoshi being a part of the next film, which is interesting because we did see the Yoshi like species when they were traveling to the Kong area. They kind of did like a montage of different areas that you see in the Mario video games, and they passed through like a river area where there was a whole bunch of Yoshi species by the water. So interesting stuff. I would say for this movie, I actually really enjoyed it. It is a very, in my opinion, fast-paced movie. It moves along very quickly. I kind of feel like there's a handful of, I would say, main set piece scenes, and then there's a lot of really quick ones in between. Like there's some times where we spend a lot of time with Mario and Peach, and then they're like, "Oh, wait, we should tell them what's going on with Luigi," and we see like a 2 minute clip of Luigi, and then we go back to what we were doing. So there's like a lot of quick cuts like that. I think maybe that kind of adds to, keeping the movie moving along. But yeah, I would say I really enjoyed it. A couple of things that I really appreciated about the movie is there was a lot of like references to Nintendo stuff, not just Mario. Um, there's a part in the movie, so like Mario is having dinner with his family in the very beginning, and that's when they're kind of on his butt about, not being successful. And Mario basically decides that he doesn't want to eat, and he goes to his room and starts playing video games. And then he starts playing, it's Kid, what's the second word? Icus or
Oh, Icarus.
Icarus, Kid Icarus. He's playing that on the NES. Um, Also, like the pizza place is called like Punch Out Pizza or something like that. And I also saw there was like a sign for duck, and the sign was duck, like from the duck hunting game. So little things like that are sprinkled in throughout the movie, which is really neat. Oh, and on top of, I think Mario's TV was like a spaceship, and it was the Star Fox spaceship. So
Noticed a lot more of these things than I did.
yeah, I really liked all those little details. I thought they were fun. Uh, I really liked Bowser, really liked Jack Black. There's some interesting like things that we see with Bowser as far as like Bowser is supposed to be this really bad guy, but we really see a soft side of him in this movie. Like Mushy Gushy. He's like playing the piano and singing about Princess Peach, and uh, you know, to a point, it's like maybe he can be a gentleman, but he flips the script very easily and turns into a villain when he wants to. So it
Don't forget,
almost seems
he
like,
practiced his proposal on Kamek with
yeah,
Kamek dressed up as Princess Peach, makeup and everything.
I like that. I thought that was funny. And then every time him and Kamek, or just him in the middle of a like, right when he would be embarrassed about something, like he seems to be very self-conscious about certain things. Like when he was doing the practice with Kamek, and then someone busted in the door. It seemed like, oh God, we weren't doing that kind of a thing. Or like when he was playing piano and people busted in, and then he was like, ah, you know, it. They had like a lot of funny, awkward moments for Bowser. What did you think of the movie?
I'm still kind of torn on how I feel. It was really difficult for me to be open-minded about this from how bad the trailer was, and mainly the voice acting and just not really knowing what the story was going to be, aside from Princess Peach wanted to kick Bowser's butt. Um,
Which is interesting because usually the Mario story is saving Princess Peach or finding Princess Peach. And this movie, it was about finding and saving Luigi.
yes, but this is not the first time they've had that storyline before, though. On the Paper Marios that I've played before, those are more often than not finding Luigi, where sometimes you'll see him throughout the game, but he's typically lost somewhere or he misplaced a key or something that you have to go and find in the game after, until like the very end is when you get to reunite with him, which is kind of how this movie went. So the
This,
whole having to find Luigi because he's not all there brain wise and is kind of clumsy or klutzy is not a new storyline for me. And we've seen kind of the wedding thing a little bit before, as you mentioned in Super Mario Odyssey, so that's not entirely new either. But I do think it's kind of weird to call it the Super Mario Bros. Then if it's not about how they're kicking butt together. It's, in the Super Mario Bros. Usually you play as Mario, and then this player two would be Luigi. Whereas Paper Mario, it's a completely one player game. There is no second player as Luigi because that would ruin the story. So I think that's the title doesn't really sit right with me, I guess, compared to what we typically know to be Super Mario Bros.
so, do you think maybe they should have called this movie the Super Mario movie, and then maybe a sequel would have been the Super Mario Brothers movie, and then they would have been doing more together?
I think that would have fit better, yeah. Um,
I could see that.
Donkey Kong was interesting. It took a minute to get used to his voice, and especially because they show at one point in Princess Peach's castle some of the toads that are kind of like war generals, if you will, or like planning how to defend the castle and whatnot. And one of them has a really deep voice, way deeper than Donkey Kong's, which really threw me for a loop that they would cast somebody with that deep of a voice for a toad, but then Donkey Kong is Seth Rogen. And it's not that Seth Rogen does a bad job because once you get used to it, it does kind of make sense. And I especially appreciated how much they had Donkey Kong showboating because if you've played the Donkey Kong games before, if you ever leave the game idle, sometimes he'll do some of those things, where he's like flexing his muscles and stuff and just kind of showboating. Um, so I think the character was done well. It's just that I think the voice wouldn't have been so startling if that other toad hadn't had such a deep voice. But it's a lot of these little things that kind of are like, oh, well, that's hard to get used to. Oh, well, that's hard to get used to. Even just the starting of them being in their own city and like the human world, that completely threw me for a loop. I was wondering, where is this going? Because I always kind of thought it was a joke that they were Italian plumbers because they're working on pipes and whatnot. And now here we are, where the first, aside from the part with Bowser, at the very beginning, the first, I don't know, 10 minutes we see Mario and Luigi is them actually being in the real world as plumbers in Brooklyn. And then we get to Mario's voice. And so they even point out that he was making his voice extra Italian for the commercial and that for the commercial of their plumbing business and that wasn't even his real voice throughout the movie. I feel like that was not I feel like it kind of sucked the soul out of who Mario is because it doesn't sound like him anymore. It's almost like we know he sounds different, we're just going to do it anyway on purpose. Do you know what I mean? Did you get that feeling at all?
Yes and no. The way that I kind of interpreted it, because there's a couple of things with this movie that I thought was interesting in relation to the trailer. Because yeah, that was our first impression was the trailer and hearing Chris Pratt's voice. Um, I did. You were explaining this to me as we were walking out of the theater. I did not know that there was games where Mario and Luigi were not part of Mushroom Kingdom. Aside from like the level from Mario Odyssey where he was in the real world, I don't think that really counts. But you were telling me that there's a really old game where, they were doing things, and then that bullied character was actually a part of the game. So, um,
One of the bully character, just to explain that a little bit further, the bullying character is named Spike, and so I Googled who Spike was, and it's from some old Mario games on the original Nintendo called Mario and Luigi in versus Working Crew or Wrecking Crew. And then there's like a sequel that's just called Wrecking Crew, where they are on a construction site and there's a foreman named Spike who's constantly trying to wreck their progress.
so it could be just my interpretation, and it's kind of just what made me feel okay, is that because they started in Brooklyn, like they were in the real world, something about that separated the video game voice from what they were doing for me in a way. Like he didn't start in Mushroom Kingdom, so I didn't anticipate him as being the Mushroom Kingdom Mario that I know. So it kind of made me just feel okay with it. Just kind of roll with it. I felt like I thought about this while we were watching the movie. I was like, if I let it bother me, I will not enjoy this movie at all. Like there's zero chance. So I just kind of tried to ignore the fact that it was like a Chris Pratt Mario voice as opposed to Mario's voice. And I just kind of rolled with it. And eventually, just like when we saw John Wick, I was like, it is super loud in here. I hope I get used to it. It was kind of like this. The voice is a little off, but I got used to it. So, and as far as like the Toad people and whatnot having some weird voices, I kind of liked it. I feel like that might be a version of comedy that Illumination uses. Like it's a striking feature that the high pitched, cute and cuddly toads are here, but when you need to get down to business, like their voice drops into the general's voice. So I just thought it was interesting and unique. It wasn't anything that really detracted from me. The only thing was is I thought I recognized the general's voice. I felt like it was really random, but I felt like he sounded like um Sabrina's dad from Pokemon, like way back in the 90s. I was like, where did I hear this voice from? And I was like, it sounds like it's from Pokemon. I thought it's not Lieutenant Surge. Man, I think it's Sabrina's dad. So I don't know. I have to look it up later, but that's just the extent of as far as voices where I was going with things. I did think it was kind of like uh I don't know, I'll just talk about it. So Donkey Kong, he's played by Seth Rogen. He did like the Seth Rogen laugh every now and then, the
It
um
was supposed to be a Donkey Kong laugh, which
and
it was, but it was so awkwardly timed that it just made it funny.
I thought well, yeah, it's supposed to be a Donkey Kong laugh, but like when I heard it, I was like, that is just so a Seth Rogen laugh. I associated the laugh more with Seth Rogen than I did with Donkey Kong, and if I guess if that's just Seth Rogen's laugh, then all right, maybe he's more like Donkey Kong than we know. Donkey Kong was my favorite character. Oh, and one more thing I want to say that I really appreciated about the Donkey Kong situation is, before Mario was Mario that we all know today, he appeared in the Donkey Kong games where, you had to save Princess Peach from Donkey Kong. And there's a couple of things in here where like Donkey Kong is making a point of like Mario's not good enough for Peach because like the muscular Donkey Kong is uh more Princess Peach material, maybe, quote unquote, even though he's not like really going after Princess Peach like Bowser is. It seemed like there was some small nods of Donkey Kong picking on Mario in relation to Mario not being good enough for Peach. And it kind of had that conflict echoing from the old video games, in my opinion.
I did like that too. I feel like Donkey Kong's character was done pretty good. Bowser's was too. I did really like Jack Black in that. He's an actor who I used to not super like a whole lot, but he's been growing on me over the last couple of years. He's been in some good things.
I love Jack Black.
Princess Peach. So let's talk about her for just a quick sec. Voice wise, I feel like she was okay.
I thought she was
Script
great.
wise, I feel like she was really weak. There's a great wide galaxy out there with lots of planets. How do you know if you've been here your whole life?
I- who knows? There is a game called Super Mario Galaxy. Maybe she's been doing some galaxy stuff.
She literally said, I've been here my whole life ever since I can remember.
Well, I've been where I live my whole life, but I've seen other states and countries.
You have a lot more technology than what she has. Um,
I doubt that.
anyway, I think when they showed them as babies, that was pretty cool. I have played other Mario games where it actually shows them as babies. I don't remember what they're called. One was the background of it. It was a Game Boy Advanced game, I believe, and the background was them on clouds or something like that. I think I might be mixing up two games, so I'm not sure. But anyway, I've seen them as babies before, and that matched. And there's a lot of other things like that where I feel like they did a good job paying homage to the original games. And one of the other things that I really liked was the music. So there was even some things that I was like, Jeremy, did you hear that? When they first got into kind of like the sewer system and they were getting closer to the Mushroom Kingdom pipe world, and it was like the da-na-na-na-na, because it was the music that they play when they're in like the underworld or the pipes or the sewers, if you will.
Oh, that's what you meant. I didn't know what you were talking about in the movie. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, I heard it. What is she talking about? Now that you say that, I'm like, oh, that makes sense.
Yep. So there's a lot of things like that, and they showed a lot more than just Mushroom Kingdom. So Mushroom Kingdom is really only World 1 in the Mario games, and then like World 2 and 3 would be like the desert and the ice and the water planets or worlds, if you will. So they do show kind of a montage. I was almost going to say Mirage. They show a montage of kind of some of those other places, like the Yoshi one, like you said, when Mario and Princess Peach are trying to get over to the Kong village. So I thought that was pretty neat to be able to see some of those other areas. I think it was an all right movie overall. I'm still kind of digesting everything that we've seen and, trying to accept that it wasn't the Mario movie I was expecting. And it's very difficult to not be disappointed if you have your, vision thinking it's going to be one thing and then it turns out being a lot different. I don't know. Take it for what you will. I think it's worth seeing just to see what all the hype is about. There is enough that's comedic, that's funny, or like little, paying homage things that I think make it worth watching at least once. But is this something I'm going to watch over and over? Probably not.
I thought it was a good movie. You said the music was really good. I thought the animation was amazing. Um, like there was a part of the movie, and like I knew the animation was going to be great when we were going to go see it because of the trailer and stuff. I want to know how good they actually were. And there is a part of the movie, it's the part where Donkey Kong and Mario are duking it out. Mario eats a blue mushroom on accident as one of the power-ups, and he gets really small. And Donkey Kong like puts his finger up to him, and you can see his like the little divot pieces of his like fingerprint. And I was like, dang, they actually did go into some super detail there. So like they were paying attention to their animation just like Disney does, where they do like very pinpoint animation. One thing I do want to also say, and this is something I thought was very interesting. When they released the trailer, you know, everybody had their opinions about Chris Pratt's voice and stuff. And the first time that we heard his voice was when Mario was jumping on the mushrooms towards Mushroom Kingdom. And he said something like, "Let's go," or whatever. Um, he does not say anything at that part in the movie. And I kind of wondered if they took it out because of backlash from what happened, or my other thought was maybe they just dubbed it in there for the trailer, because there is a character in the movie, and my guess is this is the one that's played by Mario, the actual Mario actor. There's a dude that's just kind of randomly there, and he says like the things you would expect Mario to say from the video games. He even does like the poses and stuff too. And I think they probably just tried to take some of that stuff and dub it over, even though it still sounded a little off in the trailer. Like maybe they mixed Chris Pratt and that guy. I don't know what it was, but it wasn't there in the film. So it makes me wonder if there were some other things that they took out later on as well.
Well, I can see that Charles Martinet is credited in the movie, but not as any specific character. And from what I can see, he was the original Mario voice actor. And so it was kind of a passing of the torch, if you will. So that I think that might have something to do with what you're talking about.
Could be. Anything else you want to say about the movie?
So I was trying to search real quick what baby game I was looking at, and it's not the cloud game that I was thinking of, but Yoshi Island DS. So that's one of the games where we see them as babies, is where they're riding around with Yoshis and whatnot. Just as a side note, I know that doesn't have to do with this movie, but it was driving me nuts not knowing what it was.
So it sounds like, just because like you mentioned the thing about the bully dude in that game, it sounds like there's a ton of Easter eggs in this movie that refer to the games. There's a ton of them that we haven't played before, including the one that had the bully in it. So I'm sure if you're a connoisseur of Mario, that you will really enjoy all the Easter eggs. The one last one that I wanted to point out that I saw is that when he goes to his room and he's playing the NES, behind him there's some books on the shelf, and one of them says The Odyssey. Now I know that is a book, but because they picked that title, maybe it's in reference to Mario Odyssey. I just thought that was neat. But I would say overall, I really liked the movie. I would say I would be one to watch it again. And I look forward to what they have coming. You know, Illumination is not a animation company that we see a lot of their movies. I don't know why, it just wasn't our thing. I have not seen all the Despicable Me movies. I haven't seen Secret Life of Pets or anything like that. But I feel like this is a very good one to go see. So if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We like to do movie discussions for you and let you know what we think. Drops a like if you like the video, and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on the new Super Mario Brothers movie. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.